Upon receiving no reply, the young man enters the room. There, he finds his elderly companion fast asleep. A sudden crash of thunder sends a shiver up his spine. Who was speaking? Could the voices he heard be imaginary? No, there was clearly someone speaking. He did indeed hear a conversation, an audible exchange between two people. That's it, he thought to himself. It had to be Mr. Perkins talking in his sleep. However, somewhere deep in the young orderly's mind, he knew that could not be true. For the other voice, though not particularly distinct, was not that of old man Perkins. Moving closer to the bed, the young orderly quietly scoots a nearby chair up to the side of the bed. Gazing at the old black man, he does not see the frail, careworn body of an old southern sharecropper worn down with age. Instead, he sees the body of a battle-scarred veteran of a 400-year-long race war, a war that rages to this very day. Old man Perkins was a battle-hardened soldier in which the enemy hid behind white sheets, whereas now the murderous cowards hide behind badges, feeble excuses, and false reports. How long, Lord? Yes, Mr. Perkins was in every sense a soldier, for every scar, every one of the many wrinkles upon the old man's time-worn face present themselves as a mark of time, a badge of honor which he earned by his cunning, time and time again preserving his life by skillfully morphing into the sickening caricature of that of a smiling, slow-witted, shuffling coon, all the while hating himself, hating others who reveled in his self-debasement. He was one of the so-called good ones, scratching when he didn't itch and laughing when there wasn't a damn thing funny. The fools, if they only knew, if they had but the slightest inkling of the true nature of his soul, of what he truly thought of them, the seething malevolence he bore for them and their kind. The young orderly smilingly reflects on the many times old Mr. Perkins laughingly described the manner in which he covertly fomented discord among the poor whites. Rolling his eyes and scratching his head, he would accidentally let slip some rumor he heard from somebody somewhere he didn't remember concerning the infidelity of the wife of a poor white sharecropper. Or was it one of the clerks who worked in the few shops that made up the small town? Anyway, all I know is what I heard. I sure enough knows better. Yes, sir, I stays out of white folk business. This juicy tidbit of gossip he would always relate in the town's general store, and always in the presence of one of the many town gossipers, full well knowing the results of his well-placed subterfuge. A day or two would pass. Then sure enough the wife of a particular sharecropper or store clerk's mistrust would enter the general store sporting a shiny black Irish kiss. Upon ordering the usual sundries, the bruised and battered victim would sheepishly ask to purchase a pair of sunglasses. Whereupon the local patrons that haunted the general store would slyly glance at each other and smirk. After her departure, the group would burst into a chorus of uproarious laughter. Crass jokes and vulgar remarks would be the theme of the day. All the while, Mr. Perkins knowing the truth. The true joke was on them. That was his only way of fighting back, by playing the role of Shakespeare's character, not the noble black man, Othello. No, Mr. Perkins was no fool. Instead, he preferred the role of that of Aaron the barbarous Moor. Yes, Titus Andronicus would be his life's play, and he would be the puppet master. Mr. Perkins's hatred was not unfounded. From his birth, like a seed, it had been carefully nurtured. Like a tree, his roots grew deep in the soil, seared under the burning sun of a white-hot hatred from those who considered themselves somehow superior by the mere lack of melanin. Like the melons in the summer, the cotton in the fields, like every living thing that needs water, he too was watered. The soil in which he grew was well soaked by rivers of Negro blood, soaked by torrents of tear-filled eyes turned to the heavens questioning, "Why, oh Lord, Why my son? Lord, why my brother, my father? As time and time again, his people tread along that dusty Mississippi road which led to the small town of Musky, only to be presented with the hellish sight of fathers, sons, brothers, hanging, their mutilated bodies suspended between heaven and earth. The most hideous of strange fruits, dangling there from a branch of the large oak tree in the center of the town square, there to be proudly displayed as a symbol of Southern pride, white privilege, white power. Sadly, the bitterest of all, a symbol of black impotence. As impotent as some castrated thing slowly twisting in the summer breeze, the sickening sweet stench of putrefaction growing with the heat of the day. Its ungodly odor, a dinner bell, a call to feast for every fat fly within miles. No, it's not for the reader to judge the old man, especially after what happened to his cousin, Jonah. The young orderly gingerly places his hand into the hand of Mr. Perkins. Instantly, with the speed of a cobra strike, the gnarled, wrinkled hand grips the young man's wrist. Shocked by such a sudden motion, the young orderly gasps. "Jonah! Jonah!" the old man cries out, his voice echoing against the walls of his room. He continues to call as if summoning someone. Someone from the grave, someone from the long-dead past. "No, Mr. Perkins, it's me, your buddy." The vice-like grip of the old man causes the young man to wince in pain, the old man's eyes bulging from their sockets, his face a mask of fear worthy of a Greek tragedy. Head moving from side to side, he surveys the room. In a daze, his face reflecting the level of his fear, the young orderly's sense of alarm mounting as the frail frame of Mr. Perkins begins to spasm. His vice-like grip releases the young orderly. Momentarily free from the pain, the young man stares in amazement down at the strange spectacle. Mr. Perkins seems not to know where he is. What's wrong? Where are you? Heedless of the young man, Mr. Perkins continues in his agitation, his legs kicking, his arms swinging wildly as if swimming or drowning. That's when the young orderly realized the truth. Mr. Perkins wasn't fighting the angel of death. No, that wasn't it at all. He was fighting to live, fighting to breathe. He was no longer safe in his bed. He was trapped somewhere in the past, fighting for his life. The sound of the old man's desperate gasps for air was extremely unnerving. The young orderly remained frozen in place, his mind straining to comprehend the nature of Mr. Perkins' wild gesticulations. Once while on vacation, the young orderly had the tragic misfortune of watching a man drown. It all came rushing back. How vividly he recalls his bitter anger for never learning to swim. How his ears were tortured by the dying man's desperate cries. Biting down hard on his lip, the young orderly recalls how tightly he had pressed the palms of his hands against his ears, hearing nothing, but all the while watching, praying for some miracle, one that would somehow save the hapless victim, cursing the timidity that forced him to remain standing helplessly among the crowd of onlookers as the sea claimed a human life. The orderly could recall the same look of terror in the drowned man's face. The same violent thrashing performed by the drowning man on that occasion was being mimicked. "It's okay, Mr. Perkins. It's your buddy," he cries out in an attempt to bring the old man back to sanity. "Mr. Perkins," the orderly echoes in a louder voice. "It's me. It's me." The young orderly, finding his attempts futile, he lies beside his frail companion, tightly clutching Mr. Perkins. "It's okay." The young orderly keeps repeating, "Where are you?" The orderly grateful to see the old man's agitation subsiding. Gasping for air, he takes in great breaths, slowly becoming aware of his surroundings. Where am I? The disorientation gone, the old man quickly notices the arms around him. "Who's that?" he questions. "Who got me like this? Let me go. Can a body leave a man to die in peace?" Calm down, old man. It's just me. Nobody but your buddy. Hold on there, Mr. Perkins. You're safe in bed. Nothing to worry about. What was it? What made you act like that? For a moment you had me scared there. The young orderly loosens his grip from around the old man. Who was Jonah? You just kept calling for someone named Jonah. A sudden stillness comes over Mr. Perkins. The old man slowly turned his head towards the window. Intermittent flashes of lightning, accompanied by endless sheets of torrential rain, set a certain mood. The atmosphere became thick as a certain sense of unease began filling the room. Looking deep into Mr. Perkins' eyes, the orderly thinking to himself, I've never seen him look like that. The orderly's perception was keenly correct. Mr. Perkins' eyes never looked like that before. Of the many times the orderly sat beside the old man, quietly listening to the various stories of life growing up in Musky, Mississippi, the different stories would place Mr. Perkins in particular moods. He had seen him go from laughingly joyful to a sudden state of dark, sullen introspection. There's an old saying, the eyes are the mirrors of the soul. The emotional state of Mr. Perkins reflected in his eyes, the expressive face, leathery and wrinkled, stamped by the mark of time. His face presented itself a stark contrast to that of his eyes. Mr. Perkins' eyes were the most expressive thing about him. They possess a certain quality, a life force that emitted a vibrant vitality all their own, even for a man of such an advanced age. But now, the eyes stare chillingly at something afar off. Something from the dim past calls like a siren's song, summoning, the voice of time beckoning, forcibly, dragging him back through space, back to the nightmarish hell of growing up a young colored boy in 1930s Mississippi.